Okay friends, now it's time for our conclusions, and I want to start talking from Discord, because we can see all we did from the beginning of this amazing course, and we started creating our first characters inspired by Marvel superheroes, and this was our first example with a very basic prompt, Spider-Man flying in the sky of New York without any specific keywords, just to show you how Midjourney create images basing on what we wrote, Captain American flying in the sky of New York. And this was a good starting point. Then we added a comic illustration, and then the situation changed, because in this way Midjourney understand that we want to use a style that looks like the comic book, the graphic novels. And then this was the difference from using comic illustration and starting using keywords of some famous illustrator. In this case, John Romita Sr. is one of the best illustrators of Marvel Comics. In fact, the style, look at that, begins to change. Not on the first image, but in the third especially. And then we learn that we can change the name, because we can see that each illustrator name can change absolutely the style of our image. Look at that, in the perfect Marvel style, for this case John Romita. But here we used Steve Ditko, okay? We found these names in internet, because on Google I wrote best Marvel illustrators, and then we get a list with the best names of Marvel's illustrators. So we decided to try some different names. Steve Ditko also. Again here, look at that, it's absolutely identical to the comic book. And then again Steve Ditko again. Here we used Eric Larsen, also is another illustrator from Marvel. Steve Ditko again also. Look, every time a different result. Look, amazing results now. Jill Kane, another illustrator from Marvel. Look. And then we use another subject like Iron Man, and design from Eric Larsen the same. So we created the figure of Iron Man. We changed also some other famous illustrators. Also look at that, Tom Morgan. And then I chose the Sal Buscema, that is one of the most important illustrators always from Marvel, with this typical style of the old style, like the comics from the 80s, or Don Heck, also Marvel here, look at that. And then we changed. We started creating our images with the style of the graphic novel, just to understand what Midjourney suggested us, using only the keyword graphic novel. And then we changed it using a Don Heck from Marvel, and the results changed. Don Heck again, graphic novel style, but in this case we started using other names, and we changed literally the subject. Milo Manara is a great illustrator, famous for Valentina. That is a great comic novel that he created in the 80s and the 90s, and this was the results of the first prompt we created. Look, always Milo Manara. Look, a totally different style. Also this. And then we changed the location. A girl is walking in the street of Retrofuturist in New York, art by Milo Manara. Beautiful drawing. Totally opposite, the same Milo Manara, but beautiful. So also this, but totally opposite. Respect another amazing artist, Moebius. Look at that, with a totally different style, but amazing at the same time. So you learn that each name can change absolutely the mood of your images. Look at that. The same prompt, a girl is walking towards the camera in the street of New York, but look at the results. Fantastic. You learn also the zoom out function, so a same picture with the zoom out function can be zoomed out, and this is the result. Also this, look, and this was the result. made in Midjourney, absolutely amazing. So this also was an interesting aspect you learned, and this was the upscaled version of the picture inspired by Milo Manara. Look at that, it's fantastic. This was the upscale of Don Heck, the image inspired to Don Heck. We zoomed out also this image. We zoomed out also Iron Man, also this, and this was the image with the zoom out function. We upscaled some images. Look, this was the zoomed out version of the image inspired Milo Manara, and it's fantastic because there all the changes are invisible. Now you can see all the street and all details around the subject that was missing in the first image. This was the upload version, the zoomed out version of Iron Man. And then we changed it again, also with Moebius. Look, these amazing results. Is one of my favorite artists of ever. And then we changed the illustrator name. You learned where to find the names of various illustrators using the library from Andrei Kovalev. And here in the illustrator section, you can see all the names of a lot of different, in this case, illustrators. But in the different categories you can find photographers, painters, every kind, sculptors, fashion designers, filmmakers. You can find a lot of different amazing artists that you can copy, and you can decide to be inspired by them. So this was the pictures made inspired by Martin Hansen or Mark Bagley, also here. Look. We created a lot of different John Becquerel, futuristic scenes, Vince Coletta, Martin Deschambault, also Dan Ellis. We created all these images that you can find in your exercise folder, so you can see in the details the beauty of these images inspired by these great illustrators. Look at that, we changed again the background also. Look how amazing are these images, fantastic. And then after that we upscaled some picture of them just to see better all the details, like this. Virgin Philly, Noriyoshi Orai. Look, absolutely stunning images. And this was the first part of the lesson where we found a lot, Asui Kawase, a lot of interesting and amazing artists. Great for taking inspiration. And then you learned also different angles. And from here you learned that you can use different keywords to ask Midjourney to create the image using different types of perspective. Low angle, high angle, look at that. Look, extreme long shot. And you learn how to decide the perspective of the image you want to create. High angle shot, look, shot from behind. Close up. I created a list of all these perspective names that you can use in your prompts, so you can copy and paste and exercise to recreate these different points of view. Aerial shot, look at that, amazing. Aerial shot, this, fantastic. High angle shot, do you remember? Extreme. So you learn also different panoramic views for creating your images. And then we started again creating our characters. In this case, a female character inspired to Black Widow in the style of Sal Buscema, do you remember? Or a ninja girl, or a girl inspired to Tomb Raider. Also, we created a lot of different images, and the difference between Sal Buscema, look at them, and John Romita Jr., for example. Look, we created a lot of different images, because this part of the lesson was focused about how to create the style, the comic style you prefer, choosing the illustrator you prefer. We was trying to create our character here. In this part of the lesson we was focused about how creating our character with the style of the illustrator we prefer. Most of the time I use the Salvo schema because of this beautiful ink drawing style, typically identical to the comic books. Then you learn how to use the seed parameter to get constant images. In fact, we created our subject, and then we try to recreate the same facial expression and the same face. Look, we created this picture, and then we use the seed that Discord created here to create our image with the same face of the original reference image. This was our first attempt. We did. Then we started from here to create our first character with the same face in all the different pictures. We created an image, Discord gave us the seed number, and then we applied the same seed number and we get images with the same face of the reference image. This was the first method. Look. Some other pictures, different pictures, but the subject was the same in this case. Look at that. And then we tried the second method, the best method in my opinion. We created the character. This was the reference image we chose for creating the other images. And then this was the second example. We created, always using the seed number. Discord gave us the seed number and we tried to recreate different images with the same face. In this case, this was the result. Quite good, not perfectly identical, but similar. We used also different facial expressions, laughing, and this was the results. And the second method that I personally prefer, we use this image as reference image, but in this case you learned that using this website you can crop the image and remove the background. So what we did was removing the background. This was the result with the second method, because we uploaded a picture inside a transparent PNG inside Discord, and as a reference we get these results that was absolutely realistic, amazing, and perfectly identical to the reference image. The only limitation was that here there was a part of the dress that you can see always similar in the dress of the girl. Look at that. Maybe sometimes it can be a limitation, so we decide to cut the image using only the face and the beginning of the neck. In this case we add a totally different outfit. A leather jacket, a red leather jacket I wrote, and results was completely different. So you learn that cutting the image and keeping only the face, you can change everything inside the frame, inside the composition. We zoomed out and the outfit was totally different. And then we created our first male character, and we did the same, a transparent PNG, and then we started changing the outfit. Because the original image, the reference image, was only the face, so it was easy to change completely the outfit of the boy. Look, every time is a different look. We changed the outfit again, the military uniform also. And then we started working with the facial expression. You learned how you can choose a specific keyword to change the facial expression of the character. So in this case he was laughing, but from here we started working suspense facial expression. Look, fear, suspense, look at that, joy, sadness, anger, disgust, so and so on, every time a different expression. I made a list about all these expressions that you can use to exercise yourself to do the same we did in the lesson. And at last you learned how to create multiple poses for creating the character, and with composite techniques we created first the character and then the background. In this first part of the exercise you learn how to create these multiple poses of our character. The character remained the same because the reference image was always the same. And then when we found the best pose for our composition, we created the background using the same Illustrator style, the same Illustrator name of our character to maintain the same characteristic. And so once we found the pose of our character, we created, look at that, our background. And you learn that for creating a background like this, we use the horizontal path keyword and the first person view. And the Illustrator's name must be the same of your character. And these were the results. I made compositing in two different ways. The first, using Canva, we imported at first the background and then the character. Or in Photoshop, you learned how to use the generative fill function to extend the part of the image that was missing in the original image. And then we added the transparent PNG of the boy, and so you learned how to create your own scene in a different way. So if you prefer, you can create directly the entire scene of Midjourney, or creating the character, creating the scene, and then importing the character into the scene. For a different way of working. It's completely free. You can do everything you want, everything you prefer. This is the most interesting function that you can use. And then the last thing we did was to open an image created in Midjourney, and we played again with colors also in this way, using different tools like the Infinite Color Suite panel with infinite color, infinite black and white, infinite harmony, creating every time a different style, a different look, because once you create your scene, remember, you are always at the beginning of the work if you want to work in a professional way. So once you created your images, then from this point start the beautiful trip into creativity, because you can do a lot of things, playing with colors, playing with masks. We created the mask, look at that, for applying colors only on specific part of the image. And so that's all, my friends. I hope that this workshop was really interesting for you. I invite you to experiment, to try everything new for creating your images. Follow me, stay tuned, and enjoy working, enjoy creating. I hope to see you again, maybe in my next masterclass about artificial intelligence. All the best, my friends, and enjoy creating. Bye.